I don't see any wood chips over here.
Okay, now this is a good, he says he doesn't see wood chips, and he doesn't because they're not there now, because they're underneath.
Okay.
What this material is here, you just see I create an awful lot of yard waste in my yard. So a lot of these plants get too big and I can't eat them. And so the typical thing today is you buy a composting bin and you chop it up and you put it in there and you turn it and you do all this work. Have you ever noticed those compost bins in your yard, if you have them, that the grass underneath is the greenest in the whole place? You know why? All the good compost tea is coming out and going on the ground being wasted. So what I do with all my yard waste, I take to my chickens, which is my soil manufacturing plant. They eat all they want, and then they turn it back into that amazing soil you're walking on over there. That gorgeous, beautiful black soil you're eating the stuff out of, all comes from my yard waste processed by my chickens. Now I want you to see something amazing about this, because I told you living soil cannot be compacted. So you can see that this is well traveled on. Here, you're good. I want you to go over there in the center where people are walking, and with your feet, pound down as hard as you can. Really try to compact this. You see what the ground's doing under his feet? It's bouncing back. Now bend over with your hand and move it. Go deep. You see how impactful your pounding was? And I want you to see that. Living soil cannot be compacted. And so this is, for those of you who are gardeners, you know how you approach your garden in the spring? You prepare soil, because it's hard. This never needs preparation. All I do is with a rake, come and grate it up, plant my seeds, and I'm done. The only tool in my garden is a rake. I had no use for a shovel or a hoe because there's nothing I need to move. It can't compact. And so you so get that all this stuff we've been doing for thousands of years is insanity because it's unnatural. And we work so hard to fail, it's pathetic. Really. We work hard to fail. It's just a bummer.
So Paul, what do you recommend for those of us who don't have chickens?
What I recommend for you,
Yeah.
you have an orchard?
No.
You should. And let me tell you about fruit trees you want to plant them in your garden where you're growing vegetables. Because you're going to see as you walk through my orchard, the stuff growing in my trees is growing far superior to stuff in full sun. And so what you want to do when you have that place, you have wood chips down, all the garbage out of your house you want to eat, you take the rake, you pull back the wood chips, you put it on the ground and put the wood chips back over it, you bury it so you don't see it, the predators won't, and it just lays there in compost. Here's the reality is you want to put the compost where it's going to end up. And it doesn't need help. If you notice, everything in nature breaks down on its own. No one's mixing it, no one's turning it, no one's rolling it. Again, if we just look at nature, it does it really well by itself. And so just get it where you want it. If you want to look at it, cover it with wood chips, and just go home and enjoy yourself. And let it break down and feed your plants. You know, again, what I'm loving this is so simple. Are you getting it? Everything I'm telling you is simple. It's really simple. Because that's how everything in nature is. It's simple, not hard. and all the stuff we do is difficult, really hard, and complicated. I came across the most amazing quote. I can't remember the author, but he wrote a book about nature. He's from Germany. And I love this statement he made. He says, most people think that what is hard to understand is profound. This is incorrect. What is hard to understand is what is immature, unclear, and mostly false. I love that. True wisdom is simple and moves from the mind directly to the heart. I love that. True wisdom is simple and moves from the mind into the heart. Ah, it's so cool. It's awesome.
That's beautiful.
Can I ask a novice question, Paul?
Yeah.
So if you have compacted dead soil that you want to plant, you just put chips on top of
Yes.
it and start planting right away?
What you do is see, again, this is the thing that's really getting my attention. I want you all to hear me. If you look at nature, the design is so perfect. When the farmers that go to school, that are highly educated in growing your food, fertilize their garden, their farms? Which is stupid, if you think about it. Because they're planting in spring. And it takes time for fertilizer to get to root level. You following me? And they're doing it in spring. You know when the Creator fertilizes? Every fall. Every fall, all the trees leave needles and leaves. All the plants go dormant and lay on the ground in compost. And then he sends rain and snow all winter to create compost tea to build the soil for next spring's growth. And he uses gravity to do all the work. When you start looking at nature, this thing is genius. This is like, wow, awesome. And you know, today, if you pay attention, you know, in the agricultural industry, compost tea is a rage for fertilizer. It's the best there is, and people pay a fortune for it. And they're not watering their gardens with it, you know, because it's the best. The challenge with buying it and watering with it, when you water again, it gets diluted and eventually goes beyond the root system and is out of there. The beauty of a cover on the ground that's in a compost state, every time it rains, every time you water, you get a release of compost tea. 24/7, 365 days a year, non-stop. So your plants in this environment are in a constant state of nutrition. There's never a lack, never a shortage. I love it. It's just, and it's all free. It's all free.
Now's the time to put your chips down.
Yeah, this is when nature does it. So right now, on your hard compacted soils, put those wood chips down. You come back in spring.
Like 6 inches tall or
In a garden space, because you got to pull it back to access the soil to plant your seeds, 4 inches.
4 inches? Okay.
If you have grass and weeds, put down paper. Paper, when it gets wet, lays tight to the ground, will suffocate that material. See this space where you're standing here, this garden was? This was grass all the way to the fence. And so I wanted to plant a cherry tree, and I planted it over here, but I cut it down because it got too big. Here's my challenge. I had a gorgeous cherry tree out there. It was 17 years old. It was 40 feet tall. 40 feet in 17 years. And I had to cut it down because I couldn't reach the cherries anymore. I cut this one down. This is a young tree. I had that big over here because it got too big. And it was only like, 18 years old. It's just flipping me out how fast it goes. So I asked the creator, I noticed you don't use shovels. See, my thought was to dig out all the grass.
Yeah, didn't you rototill the grass first?
No, this is what I'm asking the creator, because I noticed he doesn't use rototills or shovels. And he does things really well. He grows amazing gardens with no work. And so I says, now, help me. How would you approach this? He says, just cover the grass with wood chips. Oh, I said, that's easy. That takes how long? Can you imagine the work to dig out all that grass? And here's the insanity of digging out the grass. I put the wood chips 8 inches over the grass. This is fall. Came back in April to plant my fruit tree. I pulled the wood chips back. All the grass was totally gone, and the soil was black, full of worms. And here's what I heard. That grass was a living, green, awesome resource that now has composted and fed your soil. You are planning on laboring intensively to remove this incredible asset out of your garden. I'm just telling you, man, we work so hard to fail. It's like,
How thick did you put it down?
I did 8 inches. If you do 8 inches or more, the grass will come through. If you do less than that, it's going to come through and say, well, thank you for this food. This is great. I'll go find it here. But 8 inches or more, here's the reality. Things that are cut off from light and air die. If you have no light and air, death occurs. I had my place over in Swim. I had this quackgrass, which is like impossible to get rid of. Quackgrass. I had it, the whole place. That's all it was. And I'm planting fruit trees. I'm thinking like, man, I'm going to be a slave to this. So what I did, I put the wood chips a foot deep over that whole orchard, and what blew my mind, nothing came through.
Nothing?
Nothing. The quackgrass totally died with a foot of wood chips over it because I cut out all light and all air. I'm just telling you, man, it blew me away like, wow, this is awesome. So, again, it's just, so in a garden space, 4 inches, because you got to pull it back in the spring to plant. And like I showed you, when you pull it back, this is what's so cool. You see, you take your rake, and you pull it back. You see as I pull this stuff back, you see how below it it's getting really nice soil? So I've created a ridge here. This is what's awesome. That little ridge, when I plant the seeds there, acts as a block to the wind, and the area below is warmer and the seeds come up quicker. When you start paying attention, you see the benefits of wood chips just don't end. It's just awesome. So as your plants come up, you put the wood chips back around them, cover the ground, and then you go take a vacation, talk on the phone, go to work, visit your friends, because your garden no longer needs you. It totally takes care of itself. Again, if you look in nature, everybody hear me? In nature, no one shows up to work. You're laughing, but I'm being serious. In nature, with all this beauty all around us, no one shows up to work. Because the Creator was so genius to design, He designed it in such a way it was totally sustainable permaculture. It takes care and supports itself. And what I'm getting is I like the idea of not showing up to work, and so I'm learning. I'm paying attention to what happens in nature. And it's so awesome how much work I'm not doing. I get these what's those farmers, people that work on farms, woofers. They come here all the time because they see his work and say, I want to go there, And when they come here, they look around and say, well, what are we going to do? There's no weeds. There's no, you know why organic food costs so much? There's a reason. because they spend so many hours having to weed. They're spending hours and hours weeding because they can't use, herbicides, and so they have to weed. But you see there's no weeds. And you know why I don't have weeds? There's a very simple reason. In a tilled garden where you have dirt, what are you doing all the time after you plant? Watering. So every weed seed that blows in is hydrated, and it germinates. In this space, you can see on top of the ground how dry it is, because I don't water. So I only have weeds in the spring and fall when it rains all summer long. No weeds. And you just see how nice it was picking those greens. There was no mud in the foliage. You didn't wash them.
Right.
By not watering, you have much cleaner food, and it's very accessible. You don't have to wash it. I'm just. If you start paying attention to the benefits of this wood chip thing, it just yes.
When your little seedlings start sprouting, you cover them back up with wood chips. How tall are they?
I wait till they're big enough to get the wood chips around them, so not burying them.
Cover them with
No, but I'm looking at the ground is naked. Again, here's the most simple thing. If you look at nature, everything in nature has a covering. I shared in the film, we have skin, animals have fur, fish have scales, birds have feathers, and the soil is a living organism. And everywhere in nature where man has not been, there is a covering. It was so interesting when the film came out in 2011, I had all these farmers coming all winter. And the first comment they all said was, how come you have no mud? Because their whole farms are nothing but mud. And I says, if you go in nature, there's no mud. There's no mud in nature. What's up with mud? Who wants mud? That's no fun. And it's again, we live in all this negative, funky environment we create, never realizing it's not natural. Wasn't made this way. And we keep doing it. It's crazy. It's really crazy.